You're on your way northward to the Highlands of Scotland, a romantic country where history lives and legends thrive.
I've never been an immensely patriotic person. I usually couldn't care less for the barren scrap of land your mother plopped you onto, even less when you think that says something about you as a person. But generally, I enjoy living in Scotland. Thanks to a low life expectancy and terrible weather, we're quite a pessimistic nation with a uniquely dark sense of humour. It's this kind of attitude that leads to films like Trainspotting.
It's shite being Scottish! With the lowest of the low!
Popular cult characters.
I'm telling you to fucking stand up, you sack of fucking cum. Stand the fuck up!
And a stadium full of people cheering for a guy that can't get a torch open. So as a Scottish person, it may seem weird to you when I say that hearing a Scottish accent in a piece of media can often make me cringe up like I'm trying to absorb the seat I'm sitting on with my arsehole. The Scottish accent isn't particularly abhorrent, but it's not really sexy either. I just don't think we're exposed to enough Scottish accents in popular media to make them palatable, and the ones we have been exposed to are usually dogshit. Scotland has a rich history of producing its own popular TV comedy shows, Rabsy Nesbitt, Chewing the Fat, and more recently Limmy's Show, which are all beginning to reach a broader audience now thanks to Netflix and YouTube. In shows where the entire cast is Scottish, accents are usually exaggerated, with popular slang words of the time almost forming the basis for entire sketches.
What? He's sitting here with a big steiner. Off that cushion! Pick up! I steiner! Why have you done this to us?
The same goes for big Scottish films. The aforementioned Trainspotting, its pseudo-sequel Filth, as well as films like Ned's and Angel's Share, have nearly all Scottish casts, so the accents are part of the fun.
Where shall not be moved? By Conley!
The lack of Scottish prominent actors, or at least prominent Scottish actors cast to act with a Scottish accent, means that unlike an English authoritarian villain...
Hello? I've just shot somebody! I did it on purpose!
or a rich Texan oil tycoon...
May I introduce Howard D. Doyle of Doyle Oil?
I'm goddamn pleased to meet you.
There's not really a narrative stereotype attached to the accent. I often find it's the strength of the Scottish actor's performance that stops their accent from being cringeworthy. Nobody gives a shit that James Bond had a Scottish accent in Dr. No, as Connery managed to play him suave and sexy, two things that don't come easily to Scottish men. Though he later fucked that up in Highlander by just blatantly speaking in his normal accent while playing what should be a Spanish character.
I am Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, Chief Metallurgist to King Charles V of Spain.
Despite that, Connery's often touted as the quintessential Bond, and his performance later inspired Fleming to include the fact that Bond's father is Scottish in canon. James McAvoy, despite playing a popular character with an English accent in a massive superhero franchise, is great in The Last King of Scotland. Though in retrospect, I may have just given him a pass because of all the exaggerated Ugandan accents that make up the rest of the dialogue.
My good friends, the Scottish people, have seen how I have defeated the English here, and they want me to do the same for them there.
But then there's stuff like this.
The mushrooms!
Clearly, you don't know our women.
2 pumpkin pasties, please.
Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Let it be war upon you both.
Did I panic? I think not.
What about second breakfast?
This is Sparta!
What may be worse is when Hollywood tries to do Scotland, meaning non-Scottish actors are going to give the accent a try. Braveheart is a beautifully historically inaccurate mess and hilariously terrible 90s movie where Australian national Mel Gibson and American production company Icon Entertainment attempt to capitalise off our rich cultural heritage of wearing wool outside with no underwear and fucking in piles of hay. Throughout the 3-hour movie, Gibson tries his best to sound Scottish despite having only heard 5 minutes of an old Billy Connolly routine from another room whilst coming off general anaesthetic.
He consumed the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse.
Before that, it was Cannon Films' Highlander, often charitably described as a movie, where they cast Christopher Lambert, who was born in New York, as Conor MacLeod, an immortal Scottish warrior. He bumbled his way through his crap dialogue with a slightly less terrible accent, while looking a bit like the possessed bug guy from the first Men in Black movie. To give them more credit than they deserve, some Scottish actors were cast in both of these movies, but all that did was make the genuine articles seem better than usual. Big budget movies about Scotland always feature some element of our history, with the most recent being an adaptation of Macbeth starring a German and a French person, so I guess they haven't learned their lesson yet.
Came back home to raise crops and, God willing, a family.
Some famous actors manage to play up their Scottish heritage. Mike Myers is supposedly very proud of his. That's why he often writes and depicts characters who are loud, fat, violent and impersonable with a Scottish accent.
Have a bigger chunks of corn in my crap!
Now, while characters like this may or may not be comparable with Scottish people, when you boil it down, the only notable thing about these characters is their accent.
That's right, yeah.
It's not all bad. Young Scottish actor Brian Vernal played a space gangster in the new Star Wars movie and was permitted to keep his accent. Even if that meant he had to speak with that enunciate every syllable thing you usually only hear when there's a Scottish character on English television.
Inform the First Order that Han Solo has the droid they want, and it's aboard the Millennium Falcon.
If I ever had a point during this video, it's that the Scottish accent, despite being quite underrepresented, has been heavily used and abused by idiots in any non-Scottish produced media. It's not a sexy accent like the Irish or French, or an authoritative accent like the German or English, but thanks to these films and TV shows, it's now kind of exclusively tied to either historic warmongering noblemen or violent sociopathic drug addicts and alcoholics, which is only partly accurate. This felt like a natural first topic to discuss, considering this is the first video I'm posting on YouTube, a network where it's hard to come across any decent British YouTubers, never mind Scottish ones. I wanted to pretend the reason for being self-conscious about recording my voice and terrible accent was due to all the shite I just mentioned and not my cripplingly low self-esteem. Anyway, subscribe, more videos maybe?